Good morning, everyone. Welcome to today's Knowledge Hub session with Ms. Reenu Sharma. It's a very requested and awaited session that will help mentors prepare and manage their time better. And I think this is an important trait and skill that all mentors to do be good at their job need to build out. So for that, we have our mentor, Ms. Reenu Sharma, walking us today through how she has been able to manage her time and skills well. How she's been able to manage her time management skills well to be an effective mentor. So, with that, over to you, ma'am.
Thank you, Varya. Thank you very much. Very good morning to all the mentors here and the audiences who are witnessing this session. As Varya said, we'll be talking about how to manage our times, and we'll be touching various aspects that relate to that. Exceptional time management actually starts with the right set of skills, and no time management app, technique, or even a simple tip can help to manage time better if one doesn't develop a few time management skills. So, without the proper time management skills, one simply lacks the capacity to organize time in general and basically in a smart and consistent way. So, even if you find a perfect time management technique or tools, you don't have that resource inside you which can preserve these things in practice. So, without the right time management skill set, nothing is possible. So, the first thing is, which is very important, is the skill set. And you know and normally I have seen people getting confused between skill set, the techniques, and the tools which are required for the time management. So first important thing is that we should not be getting confused among all these. uh, we should understand the difference between all three. Skill set is basically the capacity or the tendency or the capability to do something. It's basically a specialization in a particular field. And a personality trait are the features of your character, which normally do not change. Uh, you know, it is said that in a mid-term and in short term, it is very difficult to change your personality trait. But I somehow believe, with my experience, that in longer and if something is practiced for a longer duration of time, even the personality traits can be changed. So this is one thing, and there are so many popular models which are related to these personality traits. One is there on the screen, that is known as Hexaco personality inventory. This actually mentions all the positive traits which are necessary for good time management. Talks about that, so you can just see the heads there. I'll not be talking in detail because it's related to personality trait, and which we already said is not very easy to change. So even more, people with some types of personalities can acquire new skills much faster, including time management skills. Nevertheless, with so many different time management techniques, you can definitely find the right time management solution for your personality. So basically, you can choose certain techniques which suit your own personality. So, like either way, uh, and thus knowing your personality should be the first step towards better time management. Now we understand why we talked about the personality traits. I need to understand what is my personality, what traits I have, and accordingly I will plan things. Personality traits, as already said, are hard to change. To be a good at time management, you should find the set of techniques, again I as said earlier, that fits your personality best, and to develop those core time management skills that empower your personality advantages and neutralizes the disadvantages of your personality. So that is how we have to choose. Luckily, skills are much easier to learn because we learn them from our because they can be acquired. We learn them from our surroundings, from our experiences. They're easier than changing your personality. So you can acquire new skills through life experiences, even better with training. Simply, if you practice one thing for a long period of time, it is said also that if you do something for 21 days, you practice something for 21 days, it becomes your habit. So if you become good at it, you'll finally become good at it sooner or later if you practice it for longer duration. So as we're talking about skills, there are basically three types of skills. I'm sure you all are aware of this, but we need to mention here. The first one is the hard skill, which is also known as the labor skill. and it's basically the skill which is about a specific technique and a craft. You're good at something, so that is a skill. They are usually very little related to one's personality. These are not much related to the personality. Actually, they're acquired characters. They're not related to your genes. The second one is the soft skill, which are closely related to your personality. It's related to your communication, it's related to your patience, it's, the way you handle things. So, soft skills are basically very important in time management. They are related to your personality. The third one is a life skill, which are the abilities to for effective dealing of the life challenges, the day-to-day life challenges which you face. How you handle them are basically dealt with these life skills. Uh, in these life skills, the most important are like decision making, the problem solving, the creative thinking, self awareness, empathy, assertiveness, resilience, equanimity, coping with stress and emotions, how you handle your emotions. If I will not be wrong if I say that the soft skills are in a way a subcategory of life skills. So uh, we talked about skills and personality traits and skills at large. Uh, and somewhere I come to the conclusion that all these three things are interlaced. They all are interlinked. When I say all, it's skills, it's techniques, and it's personality traits. They all are linked somehow, and they all support each other. So I'll give you one example. For example, uh, you know, uh, uh, we can take an example of any popular skill. Let's take teaching, for example. Teaching is a skill, okay? And if I have to find out the technique, so I can say that this particular teacher uses storytelling technique or a lecture method or a demonstration method. So that becomes a technique, okay? So that is the basic difference between a technique and a skill. So this was about this thing. Now, in summary, if I bring it in nutshell, we'll talk. I'll just define all three which we talked about in one liner. Skill is something which is an ability. An ability to do anything is skill. Technique is an efficient way to put a skill in practice, a best practice, you can say. And personality traits are an integral part of the character, usually very hard to change. And if we apply all these three things to the time management, we need time management skills, we need techniques to enhance our time management skills, and we need those personality traits which support our time management. So, first out of this, I would like to talk about the skills. First, I'll focus on skills. And the first skill, which is very important for time management, is planning. So planning is the most important, the first thing. Good time management starts with good planning skills. So it's very hard to manage your day-to-day work if you don't have a good plan of which task should be completed. Depending, developing proper planning skills is the first step towards better time management. Of course, in practice, a day never be completely according to your own plans. But a good plan is a tool to help you calibrate the due course of the day and not stray off course. Planning skills are important in many aspects, like time management, sequences of work, calendar management, making meeting schedules, making meeting agendas, your project planning. So all these things would come under this. With proper planning skills, you must be able to imagine what needs to be done and prioritize those tasks accordingly. Then you also have to execute the plan with proper self monitoring and evaluate how good it is, how good your plan was when you created it. That you'll evaluate at the end of the task completion. The biggest question is, how can we develop these planning skills? So the best way to develop planning skills is to be consistently use certain tools, like you can use calendar tool. There are so many. Google Calendar is there. Simply plan your week ahead directly into the calendar. You can make mention of that, like when to wake up, when to sleep, when to start your day, with which work will you start your day, uh, when will you take your meetings, with what would be your leisure time, and so on. So these calendars would be of great help in planning. While write everything directly into the calendar. that will give you a good overview of how you will spend the time in the coming week or during the day. And I think this is the simplest way you can make it. The second skill, which is very important, is the decision making and prioritization. So, prioritizing your work is very important. The point of a plan is not only to imagine things should go, but also to decide about the priorities, which one to do first. The idea is to make hard decisions about how you should spend your precious time. So we all have the same number of hours in a day. What we do with these hours is what makes a difference in time management, especially. The bottom line is that good time management skills, uh, they make will help you make good decisions about your time. So there are many decisions to make when it comes to time management, like how long you will sleep, how many hours are you planning to work, which task you want to do first, how long you will work, and so on. So these things you need to decide, think on, and prioritize. Since most people hate decision making, so they usually just go with the flow of and let their bosses, their spouses, and others they allow them to determine how they have to spend their own time. But that usually leads to poor time management, and so don't be one of those kinds. If you want to be a good time manager, you must be in control of your time. If you want to be in control of your time, you have to pull the strings wherever possible. The third thing, which is very important, the third skill, is setting boundaries and saying no. At times, to say no to certain things. If you want to do, if you want to be a good manager, you have to treat your time as the most precious resource you possess. That means setting very clear boundaries to people who want to delegate tasks to you and engage you in certain projects and activities that are not your priority. In this regard, saying no is one of the most important skills in time management. Uh, so here, how can you learn this? How to learn to say no? So if you lack your social boldness, because you have to be socially bold to say so to your boss, if you have to say that I cannot do this, so you have to be socially bold. You have to have assertiveness in you. Uh, you know, and if you're lacking this, you might have hard time saying no to people. So the best way to develop good boundary setting skill is to start saying no in small, unimportant situations first, and then slowly scale up to bigger things where you are more emotionally involved. uh, as earlier said, practice makes a man perfect. You'll finally come out of your comfort zone here also. And you can also help yourself with some templates. You can have some templates for emails or text messages where very respectfully you can draft those templates, and you can decline collaborations, or you can prepare a few good rejections or excuses in advance. I am, giving you, I don't know whether I should be talking about this, but yes, this helps. So, I'll give you one example. Suppose your boss has given you a task. You can very politely write, being honest, actually you're being honest by writing this. Sir, I would love to do this, but I don't have the time. So I will pass on this opportunity. So thank you. I appreciate something like that. You can just say that and indirectly say no to that thing initially, and slowly and steadily you learn that. The fourth most important skill is delegation, and especially for people who are in the leadership role, the principals, wherever you're leading any institution, any company. This becomes very, very important, because as a leader you are doing so many things, and you cannot afford to do everything. That's not possible. So you need to delegate things to your juniors, to your subordinates, to your colleagues. That's very important. So when we say no to something, we are actually you're protecting your time. And when you're delegating tasks, it's about leveraging other people's time. So learning how to delegate is very important. Next step in being the master of time management. The main point of task delegation is that you can focus on the highest value activities and get the rest of your back. It's that kind of specialization again. With proper delegation, you can also engage people who are bigger experts than you. Maybe in your institution, there are people who are good at that particular task. They are better than you. So in a way, it helps. The work would come out well if it is reaching a person who's better at it. First thing, and uh, and at the same time, the task can be performed faster by that person, and you parallelly can do something else. So with proper delegation, delegation might sound simple, but it is not. It is not at all simple. It's really not. First, you have to first find out right person for this, and right people for this delegation, whom you can trust and who will actually deliver. And then you have to build a relationship with this person, with these people whom you are actually planning to delegate things. You need to communicate your task, your work very clearly to this person. That means definition of the work is to be clear, and the acceptance criteria is to be there. I mean, you also have to set the acceptance criteria when you delegate something. And people, because people rarely deliver as expected first time. Deliver when you delegate something for the first time, the delivery would not be as expected for sure. So, what does it mean? It means that you should be used to give, as leaders, you should be used to give constructive feedback. It's very important. This will not only help that person, it will help that person to motivate himself. That person will get motivated to do more. And also, you will be in a process of grooming more leaders. That's very important because when you are a leader yourself, it's very important that you create more leaders under you. So that will be possible only when you delegate work, when you allow your subordinates and juniors to work. And that would be only when you allow them to do mistakes. So you also have to accept their mistakes, and that is how you groom them. So that means, you know, you now how to delegate. The question comes, how do we learn to delegate? So if you have never been in a leadership position, okay, or never have delegated anything to anyone, prepare. I'll give you the tips. You prepare a list of all the tasks you could delegate. Again, you'll have to prepare a list of all the tasks and then decide which task you can deliver or delegate to others, and then access every task according to how easy or hard it is to delegate. I mean, you'll have to self-analyze yourself and then follow a criteria like task complexity. You'll have to see how complex the task is, the potential executant, the price, the time, the sensitivity. All these things you will have to analyze and take check on, and then start with the easiest task to delegate. If you're not used to give the easiest task, but I would like to share my experience here as a leader, being a principal for so many years. I have seen that when you start delegating things, uh, it's it's the results are very good if the complex things are delegated. Let me tell you, if you will delegate things which are routine work, if the things are like taking follow up, routine things, simple tasks, the people would not get interested, and the results would not be as expected. Delegation of complex tasks always, interest the person who's being delegated. This is my experience. Maybe my team is more groomed. That is the reason. Initially, even I used to think twice, thrice before delegating. So this was from my experience. Uh, so follow criteria of all these things which I have just shared, and I'm sure you learn how to delegate. The fifth most important thing is building a system and diligently following it. So when you learn how to plan, you learn how to prioritize, you learn how to delegate, and so on. It sooner or later wakes up the need of for a coherent and complete time management system. So there are numerous time management techniques that can be employed. There are many. There are many. If you just search, Google search. In this regard, you actually need two skills basically. Under a skill, you need further two sub skills, you can say. The first one is building a system for yourself. I mean, everyone, as I said, according to the personality trait, according to the profession you are in, you'll have to build your own system. And not only build a system, constantly improve it, improvise it. That is very important. Every day we learn something or the other. Change is required, do it. So that consists of and that will happen only when you experiment with various techniques. How will you come to know which is the best system for you? So it is only by experimenting with techniques, which we'll be talking about just after this, exploring what suits your personality, and then putting the selected techniques together in a meaningful way. It usually takes a few months to build systems that really work. It's not an overnight job. It takes months and at times years also to build a system. The second sub skill under this is diligently following the system. Once the system is set, once the improvements have been done, those will keep happening. You need to follow that very diligently. There's no value of time that's not being used regularly. So, uh, I said, what is the question here which arises is how to build this system. First, what you'll have to do is you'll have to research all the time management techniques out there, okay, which we'll be talking about very soon. Select the ones you find the most interesting ones and which suits your personality. Start testing them one by one and keep bring them into practice and give yourself a few months to select these techniques and fit your which fits your best, you best. So, and then absolutely combine time management techniques with different tools that support the techniques. And that can be different calendars, it can be note taking softwares, time management apps, and other apps, combination with reminders, notifications, checklists. So, all these things you need to collaborate and combine, and then you come up with a system. Using a good time tracker is also an important part of a complete time management system. You can try out time tracking app also, to see for 30 days. So this is about this particular thing. Now I would like to talk about the techniques, the time management techniques, and these are well proven techniques which have been given by people who have actually gone through this process and proved it. So first one is the Pareto analysis. Okay, so it is also known as 80 by 20 rule. Uh, this technique was created by an Italian economist. It's the idea that 20% of the actions which you do in your day, the entire day, are responsible for the 80% of the outcome. So the goal of Pareto analysis is actually to help you prioritize your tasks that are most effective at solving problems. So how does it work? The question arises, and how to go about it. So first of all, in this particular analysis, what you have to do is list some of the problems you're facing. Okay, and it can be anything like, for example, your grades are slipping. That can be one of the problems which you're facing. You're not scoring well. Uh, the second step would be identify the root cause of this problem. So maybe I can find out one reason. Maybe this we are not scoring well because I'm more engaged with social media. So this is one problem I have sorted out. I have found out. The third step here would be assign a score to each problem. Okay, so maybe you have many problems, social media, many other problems. So give scores to them, give marks to them, and then group all the similar problems together. For example, group together all the problems caused by spending too much time in social media. Okay, we have grouped all of them, and then add all the score, add the score of the group. So every group has a score here now. The group with the highest score is the issue you should tackle first and take action accordingly. This type of analysis will help the people. I am trying to link the technique with the trait also. This will help the people who are problem solvers and the one also the analytical thinkers. So these kind of people would get benefited by this technique. The second technique which I would like to talk about is Pomodoro technique. I am sure you all people all must have heard of these, but since we are having a session on this, I need to talk about Pomodoro technique. This was created by an entrepreneur and an author, and this technique uses a timer breakdown to break down your work into small intervals. Each interval is known as a Pomodoro. I mean, according to this was called so in the beginning. How does it work? The question arises. So, what you're supposed to do here is choose a task you need to get done, any task you want to do it, set a timer for that task. Just estimate and set a timer, say 20 minutes, 25 minutes, set a timer for that. Focus on the task at hand fully. And when the timer rings, put a check mark on the piece of paper and take a short break. Take a break for about 3 to 5 minutes, go for a walk, grab a cup of coffee or a tea, do something which is not related to this task, this work. That means you have to keep your brain free for some time. And then repeat these steps, step 2 to 5, which I've just talked about, repeat them. Once you have completed this process 4 times, you can begin to take longer breaks also in future. So basically, the people who are creative thinkers, the language people, I've seen in since I'm a principal, teachers who are language teachers. Basically, they're very creative. They have a different mindset and inclination. So the creative thinkers and those who feel burnt out very easily are very much benefited by this technique. The third technique is Eisenhower matrix. We'll see how it works. What you have to do here is you organize your tasks into 4 quadrants. You can see on the screen there are 4 quadrants there. So you have to organize your task in 4 quadrants, sorting by important versus unimportant and urgent versus non-urgent. Okay. So as shown here, urgent tasks are those. So first you should know what is urgent and what is important, what is non-important. So the urgent tasks are those which we feel need to be done immediately, are the ones which are urgent. Important tasks are the ones uh, that will contribute to your long-term goals because they need longer duration of time to get completed. So those are important ones. So ideally, what I'm trying to say here is you need to focus on first 2 quadrants. That is, the urgent and important, not urgent but important, and the rest too. You decide. I mean, either it can be deleted or it can be delegated. So that is how, if you divide your tasks into these 4 quadrants, it becomes very easy for you to understand and decide which one to delete, which one to delegate, which one to do right away, and which we can do tomorrow. So that is how this theory works. And this, matrix, this technique works better for people who are in leadership positions and who are critical thinkers. See, in the previous one, we saw the people who are creative thinkers. Critical thinkers are just opposite of that. Critical ones are the ones who are having better left brain development. They're logical thinkers, so critical thinkers. So this works better for them. This is this is not a time management technique. If I talk about the fourth one, that is the Parkinson's law. It's a law basically, uh, not a technique. It's a law that, when understood, can be applied as one of the most beneficial time management methods out there. But you will have to put in the work, and that means working more efficiently, shorter bursts of time uh, would work here. So again, some tips how to go about it. Try working, for example, you have to do a task. Try working on that particular thing without a computer charger. So you yourself has limited yourself uh, as far as the time is concerned. This will force you to finish a project before you before the computer dies, right? So get it done early. Like you, instead of finishing an essay, suppose you have to write an essay and you're planning to do it by midnight, try to do it by noon. So that means you're trying to do it early, and then set a deadline. Like give yourself a set time to do something, and slowly and steadily, cut it into half. So start, shortening your deadlines, you can say, and limit time for tasks. Give yourself only 20 minutes in the morning to answer the emails. This is one example. Like this is how you can break your work into smaller chunks. So, what kind of people get benefited by this particular technique? The ones who are the procrastinators, the ones who are lazy, the ones who, delay. They say they will do it tomorrow, we'll do it in the evening. So the ones who have the tendency of pending their work, their task, get benefited by this technique. And the people who have the tendency to work under pressure. There are certain people who work very well under pressure. Normally they don't. So such people would get benefited by this particular technique. The fifth one is a time blocking method. Okay, so from the moment you wake up, assign each time block in your day to a task. So these tasks can be anything from eating breakfast to studying or a test, whatever. So what you have to do is divide a piece of paper into 2 columns. One on the left hand side, write all the tasks, and and then time, and create chunks, and estimate the time it's going to take to complete each of your tasks, and fit them into your time blocks which you have created on that paper. Add buffer times also in between the chunks. which you have created for the adjustments during the day. Now, this type of working will help, technique will help basically students get benefited by this, parents also, and the people who are analytical thinkers. So, the sixth technique is getting things done. It's also known as GTD. This was created by an author, David Allen. This process helps you get things done by recording tasks on a paper and then breaking them down into action are, uh, you know, uh, recording a task and then you're breaking them into actionable work items. We'll see how. Capture the actions that have your attention. Okay, first thing. These actions are tasks that can relate to anything from work to school to your personal life. So, what you have to do is you have to first identify the task which hold your attention, which you feel like, or which attract you. So you have to first do that, then clarify what they means decide whether the tasks that have your attention are actionable or not. They are attracting you, you are getting attended to it, but is it actionable? So that you have to decide. If an item is not actionable, ignore it for now. If the item is actionable, do it, delegate it, or you know you have to decide what you have to do with that. Then organize your actions, prioritize your list accordingly to what you need to get it done and when, and then reflect after that. Review is very important. Review your list of actions frequently to determine your next priority and cross off the task which you have completed. That means basically you have to keep updating the list also, like this done, this not done, this is pending, something like that, and keep engaged with it. Take the actions, which you can complete right now. The people who struggle to focus on one thing at a time get benefited by this particular technique. And also the people who are excited all the time, who get overwhelmed in their daily lives very easily, also get benefited by this technique. There's another technique called rapid planning method, known as RPM, which also said like result, purpose, and massive action plan. It was developed by a motivational speaker, Tony Robbins. How it works? Here you have to capture. When I say capturing means you have to write down all the tasks you need to accomplish this week, this day, this month. You have to write down all the tasks, and then you have to chunk. Chunking has to be done. Means chunk all your tasks together by commonality. The tasks which are common, this thing, you have to group them or chunk them, uh, like personal, career things, school related things. So you can create various heads and you can make groups accordingly. Create your own RPM blocks. Means on the top of a new sheet of paper, make three columns. The task, the result you want from that after completion of that task, and your purpose of completing uh, that task, and list the actions you can take to get there. So this is how on the paper you have to jot it down, and then you have to create an empowering role for yourself. This also helps. At times you tag yourself, you give yourself names. Like if you're a student, you might call yourself a study queen. If you're a mentor, you can say kings of men, something. I mean, you just give names and tag yourself. This will keep motivating you and will keep you jazzed about completing your goal. So this is one way of doing it. What kind of people will get benefited by this? Again, students for sure, parents, yes, people who have long-term goals, which the people who need to remain motivated for longer duration of time. This theory really works. There's another theory called pickle jar theory, which again is about prioritization, which we have already talked about. Here, the work tasks have been divided into three things: rocks, sands, and pebbles, where sand is the least important task and the rocks are the most important task. And the pebbles are the ones which can be done later on. So again, prioritizing, you have to decide, uh, prioritize, and accordingly go ahead. Begin by thinking about how your task for the day would fit into the above categories, like which are your rocks, which are your pebbles, and which is your sand. And then make a task list starting with the rocks and end with sand. Include an honest estimate next to each. Try not to plan more than 6 hours out of the 8 working hours in a day, uh, and also leave buffer time for pebbles and sand. You need to have buffer time also. people who are visual people, and the people who are very good at imaginative powers, and the people who are concrete thinkers basically get benefited by this. There's another theory, there's another technique, eat the frog technique. This technique is named after Mark Twain quote: "Eat a live frog the first thing in the morning, and nothing worse will happen to you the rest of the day." Okay, so how does it work? Get a clear, get clear on your goal. First of all, you should know what you're supposed to do, what you're wanting to do, what you want to achieve the most. Write it down, set a deadline, compile a list of things you need to do to achieve this particular goal. Organize this list in order of priority. Okay, the most important items are probably the most difficult ones. When you prioritize things, always prioritize in a way that the most difficult thing comes first. When we say eat the frog, means the first thing should be the most difficult thing in a day, and then actually these things are your frogs. The biggest, the difficult things, the tasks which you have to do first in the day are your frogs. And take action. If you have more than one frog in your plate, eat the nastiest one. The one which is the biggest, the one which is the nastiest, eat that first, and then go for the next one. And repeat this cycle every day. Uh, I'm sure this is going to help you. And So this was about the techniques. Besides techniques, there are certain tools which are, while I was talking about techniques, I talked about tools also. You need to focus on those. And besides the skills, the techniques, the tools, one thing which was very important was the personality trait. It's good that it is good if I know about my positive personality traits. That's going to help me. But I feel from my experience, I've learned that it is more important to know your negative traits. More important to know the traits which are actually creating an obstacle in your time management. Okay, so so you should be aware of the traits which is eroding your time management skills. So, when it comes to work, your lack of time management can be a significant issue, leading to overdue projects, piled up work, and missed deadlines. So, let's discuss some of such limitations, and we would be you all can relate to what I'm saying. Wherever you feel is a limitation, you can relate to that, and you can try avoiding that so that it doesn't become a deterrent in your time management planning further. So, the first one is, are you a yes person? We did talk about saying no. So it's related to that only. So being a yes person is also one of the personality traits which can be harmful. When you forget how to say no to projects and tasks, it's easy to drown into your own work and lose sense of time management. So not to mention by saying yes to everything, you lose the ability to work on things you care about. By saying no, you are giving yourself the ability and bandwidth to say yes to the things that are more important. The second limitation or the trait which might harm your time management is the lack of organization. Everyone knows. You need to be organized because clutter leads to a whole host, of psychological issues that are toll uh, on time management. That take a toll on time management. Uh, Lack of organization also leads to it also draws attention away from where our focus should be. It also signals to the brain that the work is never done, never being done. It inhibits your creativity. It affects your productivity also. So these were two limitations. The third trait is forgetting to take breaks. At times we are too workaholic. At times we are too indulged into our job and we forget taking breaks. Basically, everything is about balance. You know, balance has to be maintained. So taking breaks is very important. Brain breaks are one of the best ways to manage your time. When you become burnt out on any task or any project, your productivity slows drastically. So you start losing interest in what you're doing, and before you know it, you've already lost 20 minutes, 25 minutes. So it's always better to give yourself break. Brain breaks help avoid this issue and have been proven to improve productivity by 34%. It is being proved scientifically also. Poor punctuality is another factor which affects negatively in your time management. When you're running behind the schedule, it's impossible to manage your time. So it's very important to reach your offices, your institutions on time. It's very important. When you're late to your work most days of the week or slow to start on a project, your first thought is isn't managing your time. It's more like you feel like uh, how quickly can get this job done. You feel like doing it very quickly because I'm already behind. So that thought comes to your mind, and that affects your productivity and your efficiency. So this punctuality, reaching on time, is very important. The next one is no to-do list. To-do list is important. So if you don't have any to-do list, it's a question mark. It's a problem. So similar to a lack of defined goals, without a to-do list, it's hard to structure your day. The key time management is being able to prioritize tasks, and to-do list is the best way to do that, ensuring you get everything done. So this list should be there all the time with you. Now, I mean, we used to do in diaries. Nowadays, there are so many things you can have it in your mobiles, in your laptop. There are so many ways of having this list with you all the time for ready reference. And the next one, very important, the perfectionist thinking. Uh, I'm sure that it's a debatable topic because at times it is said that perfectionism is something which is positive. Yes, it is positive, but as I said, balance has to be maintained. When everything needs to be just right, you tend to lose control of your time because you focus so much on one project or task that you ignore others. So while it's important to produce work on your to-do list, so when you are a perfectionist, it's good, but at times it hampers. So again, a balance has to be maintained as per the priority of the task. Failure to manage distractions is another trait which will affect your time management skills. Everywhere you look, there's a distraction on time or a time sucker. With distractions and interruptions, it's hard to get into your work day effectively. Are any of these a regular issue for you in the workplaces? We need to identify that. What's stopping us from being good about time management, and then eliminate the cause so you can focus on getting more done effectively and efficiently. So out of these negative, as I said, knowing your positive traits is important, is good, but more important is to know your negative traits so that you start working on them to get better results. Besides these, there are many other important skills too. There's so many. Okay, so I'll talk about a few here. uh, uh, I don't know whether this should be kept in the skills criteria or the personality trait criteria, because as I said, all these three, four things are interlinked. They're all interrelated. So I just quote those. Okay. The first one is asking for help. Sometimes when you get stuck, overwhelmed, or there's no way out, your only option might be to ask for help. Some people find asking for help humiliating and see it as a sign of not being good enough. But I feel that there's nothing really wrong with asking for help. Actually, it's more of a sign of strength than a weakness. So we should not be, limiting ourselves from asking help if required. Even being a head, if you need to require, you need to ask help from your juniors or subordinates or your colleagues. I don't think we should mind because the aim should be the focus should be the completion of that particular task properly. So this is one thing. The second is completion. Many people have difficulties actually completing a task. They complete their task to 90% or even more, and then they have an emotional block preventing them from crossing the finish line. You definitely need to know how to get push, past such a burden. Have we start developing a tendency not to give a finishing touch to our task. So that is one limitation we need to work on. If we start the same energy which we have with which we have started the job, with the same energy we need to culminate the same. The finishing touch has to be very, very proper. Then it is creating routines. Our brains love routines. It is also scientifically proved. that brains love routines and patterns in life. We see patterns everywhere. But the good news is that when you get used to a routine, it takes almost no effort to follow it. Once the routine is set, no, it's not at all difficult. It's very easy to follow it. Consequently, routines are very important part of the time management. Your time management system should consist of set of routines. Very important. For example, every morning you can write down the three most important tasks for the day. It's a simple routine that can skyrocket your productivity. As an interesting fact, it usually takes 1 to 2 months to get used to new routines. As I already talked about the fact that for any new thing which you want to start, it will take at least 21 days to make it into a habit. So this is about creating routines. Uh, the next thing is focusing and avoiding multitasking. I also keep hearing it, and I also keep quoting it to my staff that the age of the time of multitasking. We should be capable of doing many things at the same time. But there's a negative to that also, as everything is about balance. So multitasking is a big enemy of good time management. Let me tell you, until and unless you are an excellent multitasker, that will further needs time to group. So, of course, there are times when you have to juggle several things at once, especially when we are leaders, when we are heading a team. But in general, good time management skills require the mental capabilities to focus on one thing and get it done. That is why delegation is important. As I said, all is linked. So, multitasking is a good quality, but don't allow this quality to become a deterrent in your time management. If you still are practicing this particular thing, it's better to again balance, delegate certain things, and if you're not capable of, don't try too many things at a time. Focus on one thing at a time to give good results. Getting into flow is also very important. Flow is one of the most productive states you can be in. You forget about everything and just create and deliver. If you want to get into a flow, you have to work in peace on a challenging task while being empowered by intrinsic motivation. So I think that is all from my side. I have touched the areas which actually can affect your time management. I've tried my level best to put certain techniques here and some tools, some traits which you can work on. Nothing is impossible in this world. And as I said, if you are in the leadership task, leadership doesn't mean only principal. If you're an HOD, if you are any area if you're leading, you or any institution, you need to delegate. That is very important. And while delegating, delegation also needs practice. Try to delegate things first when you're starting with. Try to delegate the tasks which are simpler, which you are easy at, because you need to develop that trust on that person. That's also very important. Otherwise, that person will not come at uh, into the comfort zone of doing that. I mean, we have to give constructive feedback to that person so that uh, initially you'll have to be with the person, and while you have delegated the task, keep an eye on that. Slowly and steadily you'll come to know what kind of delivery is there from that person, and accordingly a time will come when your institution, when your team would be on auto. You'll just have to click a button, you just have to say, this person will do this and it would be done. I am very sure of this because I've practiced it myself. So the key word from today's session, I would say, is delegation, because this is actually is not going to help you, your institution, but also will create more leaders under you. More principals, more leaders, which will, if not in your school, will go somewhere else and show their capabilities. So that is all from my side. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for this brilliant session. And I hope to see all of you for the next Knowledge Hub that we have in the coming years. Thank you so much and have a good day.